I am saving a bunch of money this year while taking care of my houseplants, and I want to share a few tips and tricks with you guys on how I'm doing that. Hello, I'm Lauren, that awkward plant girl. Welcome back to my channel. It's so good to see you guys. Thank you guys for popping in. Today I want to go over 10 different ways that you can be saving money on houseplants. I've been using them for a long time. A lot of them I incorporated this year. Others I have incorporated for years and years, and some I've had since the get-go. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up is pest treatments. Pest treatments can get very, very expensive. Pest treatments can be kind of scary because you have this pest that's going to be killing and eating your plant and you don't know what to do to take care of it. And then you have to test all of these different products over time to figure out what's going on with it and whether it works and actually does as advertised. And then there are pests like spider mites that will adapt to your pesticides that you're using on these plants, so then it ends up not working on them anymore. And while you're doing that in your home, you've got the growers doing the same exact thing. So it's a super huge, expensive issue. One of the ways that I have saved money on this is by finding tried and true methods that cut down on pests right away that are fairly expensive, like isopropyl alcohol, for example. Rubbing alcohol, you can put it in a spray bottle, spray it on your plants. I know it sounds crazy, just add in a little bit of water and it takes care of most pests. It kills spider mites on contact, it kills thrips on contact. It's what we use to take care of mealybugs. It's a one-stop shop pest solution that costs like $2. It's really, really cheap and easy and inexpensive. I am not buying those expensive insecticidal soaps anymore. Sorry, but I'm not doing it. I don't want to spend $10 on an insecticidal soap that may or may not work. I don't want to spend $10 on some other type of spray that may or may not work. This kills on contact. It's like Osmosis Jones for them. I'm just going to use what works and saves me money. So now, instead of buying a bunch of different things, I actually only have a couple things that I'm using to kill my pests. I have a systemic, I have the isopropyl alcohol, and then I have a copper fungicide. And that takes care of most fungus, most pests. It's super easy. You don't have to be spending boatloads of money on this stuff. You can save money and just find what works for you and keep buying that same product over and over again. You don't have to have FOMO over something that might get rid of your pests a little bit better. This is how you get rid of your pests, and this is what works. And if you are new to getting rid of pests, I will have a separate video for that later, so definitely subscribe, stick around, and I'll get to you on that. Next, I want to talk about pots. Pots can be very expensive for houseplants, especially if you're trying to buy nice looking ones, ceramic looking ones, ones with drainage holes, ones without drainage holes, but there are ways to do it cheaper. You don't have to go and buy a $50 pot. You don't have to do that. I have a whole bunch, like this pot is thrifted. This pot is, this pot I purchased as a pack on Amazon in bulk for super cheap. What else? This pot was thrifted. That pot was thrifted.
3 hours later.
This pot was thrifted. And then what I do to save money as well, on top of thrifting pots, I will use things that are not necessarily pots, but could work as pots. But especially with cash pots, because as long as it'll fit a nursery pot, it's good to go. So I've used candle holders before. I've used decorative pots. I also thrift little saucers to go under my pots. Even if they have drainage holes, it can still look really nice without having to be super expensive. We don't have to go and spend $50 on a pot. And you can make your own hydroponic pots from these type of pots as well. You don't have to be spending a boatload of money on houseplant pots. A lot of pots out there and a lot of other recyclable materials, you can get pretty crafty with this stuff and make it look really nice. For example, I found plastic little bucket pots and I've painted them different colors and they look really cool. I've had them for years. The paint's just now starting to chip. Back in the day, I used nail polish on my pots. It doesn't have to be a super expensive thing. You can get very crafty, very thrifty with this stuff and customize these pots to your own space while still doing what's best for your plants. Speaking of thrifting, I thrift a bunch of different stuff for my plants. I have thrifted furniture for my plants. I've thrifted pots for my plants. I have thrifted yarns and different macrame cords to make things for my plants. And I've thrifted actual plants from the thrift store as well, because our local little thrift store has a local seller that just goes and puts plants in there. Some of them are pretty actually hard to find plants. That would be a lot of money if I ordered it online, and I'm getting them at my local thrift store for like $5 to $10. It's amazing. And then the money that they make from the thrift store, they go to feed the food bank nearby. That's where they take the money. So they pay their bills and everything, and then they go and add that money to the food bank. So it's a win-win-win to be shopping at places like this. So if you can find one locally or you can make one locally, definitely be doing that. And you can save a bunch of money just by going to your local thrift stores. And when I say thrift stores, I don't mean Goodwill, because we all know Goodwill prices have gone up to bonkers amounts of money. There's no way I'm paying $14.99 for something somebody else wore. That's insanity. I just no. But if you can get it for 50 cents, I've gotten pots for 10 cents. I've gotten plants for $3. Like, you can save a lot of money by thrifting. So even if it looks kind of dingy, maybe go in and check it out. Their prices might be worth it. Speaking of getting plants, another way I save money on plants is by trading with other people. So in the plant community, you make friends, and then you guys each have plants that you guys each want, and then you just send them to each other. You do have to learn how to package your plants properly so they're not dead once they get to the other side. You do have to sometimes work with the postal service or whatever service you're using to try to get them there or not. And sometimes that can be kind of a hassle. There are different ways that you can save money on shipping labels as well. Do a whole separate video on how all of that works. I probably will before the holidays, so that way if you have any holiday trading to do. Another thing that I do to save money is heavily vet the seller that I'm buying from. I don't go and just pick up somebody on the internet and buy plants from them. I want to know what the plant community thinks about them. I want to know if one of my friends has purchased from them before. I want to know their seller ratings, because unfortunately there are so many scammers since 2020, especially if you're buying seeds of any kind. They can look like legitimate websites on there. They can even fake that they got stars on their websites. Check other places. See how they are on social media. Make sure that they are a legitimate seller. Heavily vet them before you give them money hoping to get plants back. So that's another thing. I don't buy from sellers that I don't trust. Another way you can save money on plants is going online to your vetted sellers, and when they have sales and stuff, you buy in bulk. So you end up buying multiple plants at one time on your wish list that you've been wanting for a while, and you get them all at one time, so you can save money on shipping and you get the sale price at the same time. So there are different little things like that. I can go into that more later. Just anything that you guys want me to go into more, please just put it in the comments and I will try to make a separate video on that later. If you guys don't talk about it in the comments, then it's just something that I want to do that's probably not going to go anywhere, so I will talk myself out of it. That's my biggest problem with this channel. It's like, I don't know. So let me know down below. Another super expensive aspect of taking care of your plants is fertilizer. Fertilizer is probably one of the most crucial and expensive things that I buy for my plants. Instead of trying all of the different houseplant fertilizers out there, because there are new ones coming out every single year, I just either make my own, or I have exactly what I need already and I buy just that. For example, if I need calcium and magnesium for my peperomia, then I'll just buy some CalMag because I know the CalMag works and I know my peperomia are going to need it. I buy bigger in bulk so I get cheaper. I check the price. I get it on sale. I also specifically buy Dynagrow Foliage Pro. Love them. They are the best liquid fertilizer that I have ever tried. I will never go back to another liquid fertilizer unless they change it up and make it not work anymore. There is no reason for me to go elsewhere. It works perfectly. My houseplants are way happier with it. As far as slow release fertilizer goes, slow release fertilizer is a great way to save money because you can get a lot and it can go pretty far. Most houseplants are not heavy feeders, so you don't have to worry about feeding them on a regular. It's a great budget way to save money. If you don't want to spend money on houseplant fertilizer anymore, you can totally start getting worm buckets and save money that way. You can take worm castings, make worm casting tea. You can take your grass clippings, shove them in buckets with water and make your own fertilizer. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do this, even if you don't have extra money, but you still want to fertilize your plants. There are even specific plants that you can grow that will fertilize your compost water even better. And I know some of that sounds gross, especially if you're like living in an apartment or something, but if you have a porch and you have the space, go for it. And there are worm buckets that are completely and totally sealed. Like there are people that keep worms as pets, so you can see them like crawling around and making their own little farms and stuff. Like people have ant farms. There are worm farms. It's really cool stuff. It doesn't have to be that way, but there are options out there. Personally, I'm learning to make my own CalMag, and I'm trying a worm bucket. I've had one outside all summer. I'm going to try to bring it in and try to work it through the winter, or at least put it on my porch, and we'll see how that goes. So we're always learning and experimenting and trying new things, and don't be afraid to try to do some of these things as well. If you are short on funds, but you still want to feed your houseplants, or if you just want to experiment and save some money. Another way you can save boatloads of money is by reusing your potting mix. As long as your potting mix doesn't have some nasty root rot fungus stuff in it, it's reusable. Unless it has some crazy weird pests in it, it's still reusable. You can also bake your soil to kill these things. You can boil your soil to kill these things. Do not freeze your soil to kill these things. It does not kill these things. So just heads up there. And if you don't want to put your soil in your oven, if you live in a hot area, you can put it in a plastic bag outside and that'll work. You can also put it in clear totes. That works as well because it'll heat up. You just have to make sure that you're putting it in the sun. And side note, as long as you lay it out in the sun, that kills a lot of bacteria as well. So if you're not so worried about bugs, but you're really worried about bacteria in your soil, as long as it's laid out and it's not super big clumps, the sun sterilizes things. It kills off bacteria and fungus. So you can just lay it out in the sun if you have a really sunny area, and that works too. So there are a lot of different ways that you can make your soil safe to reuse again as well. Another aspect I wanted to talk about really quick is I recycle a lot of different stuff for my houseplants. I reuse food containers, I reuse glass jars, I use cups. If I have some sort of cup that had a handle and it chipped or broke, it's going to be used for plants now. I reuse candle holders. There's all different things that you can reuse for your houseplants. So definitely start looking around and thinking about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Hopefully this helped you a little bit today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!